Good morning. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Would you bow with me in prayer? Lord, we just thank you for this day, and we thank you for your love and guidance and protection to us. We ask that you would be with us as we make decisions that affect Madison County. And Lord, that we would do things that would be pleasing in your sight as we interact with others today throughout the community. Just bless and guide us, and we ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you have before you the May 12th minutes. We had sent those out to everyone, and I think if you've had a chance perhaps to review them from our last month's meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Move the minutes be accepted with no necessary changes.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed. We're going to skip down to number 6 and go to the purges by district. And for the period, it was May 3rd of 21 to June 1 of 21. And so District 1,
18.
District 2,
27.
District 4,
20.
District 5.
28.
Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same time frame for the inactives. District 1,
12.
District 2,
91.
District 3, 3, District 4,
28.
District 5.
39.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
I've got Dan on that one, and then Lauren. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Down to old business. We had the contracts that we secured from different municipalities that were sent to you, Spence, and then they were, you want to speak to that?
Yes, the state law requires that you send those contracts to the Secretary of State so that he's got it on file and knows what's going on. And so we sent that to them, to their Assistant Secretary of State for Elections. So he got them and emailed right back and said he appreciated getting them. I'm not sure everybody does that, so I think he really likes that y'all are conscientious about that and get that to him.
Good.
So glad the contract season and the municipal elections are over. So I think y'all did a great job helping where you were asked to help, which is, you always do step up and help train and do things, and it helps your pool of poll workers that you've worked with them another cycle, and now they're ready for the next time you need them. So that's good.
I had a comment from someone yesterday that called me after they had closed the polls in Madison, and I think it is something we might want to explore in the future. That is an awfully long 14-hour day.
Yes.
And so we might need to figure a way to prorate the pay or whatever and hire them, and maybe not prorate the pay. I'm not saying that as a given because they're underpaid, I feel like, as it is. But if we had a 6 a.m. to 12 noon shift and then a 12 noon to 8 or 7 or whatever it is, I think we'd have a lot better success getting people.
That's actually crossed my mind several times. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yes, working them in shifts would be great.
And so I think I have checked with the Secretary of State before, and it's possible what we would need to do would be develop a policy that we presented to our Board of Supervisors. So I would ask that y'all take that under consideration and see what we could do. We could still not have to have a heavy presence of poll workers unless it's a heavy precinct. Now, I know like several of us have these huge precincts, so we're going to need a lot of people at those. But if you have a smaller precinct, you can get by with 5 people And so let's see if we, in the future, as we're working towards elections for next year, if we could, a little later in this year, perhaps develop a policy that we submit to the supervisors and get their approval on, and see what, I mean, Leroy, do you think that's a possibility, or what do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, that's a possibility of, I guess it's of all of these things, but the only problem you're gonna run into is the change of shift. Somebody doesn't show up, that type of thing, to replace Joe Blow or Sally or Sue.
Right.
And then what's gonna happen, they're gonna be shorthanded the rest of the evening when the big crowd comes in.
Exactly, yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's what we need to brainstorm and figure
Right,
this
yeah.
out. Uh-huh.
It may be something where you want to stagger the shifts. Maybe some people leave at 11, some people leave at 1, something like that, so that they're not shorthanded and having a huge transition right there at noon, because noon is a very busy time in the polls.
Right.
Well, I'd just like to throw that out as something for us to think about, and however you want to do it, we can bring it back to the full committee, full commission, or whatever. And I just think it's something we may need to consider in the future. We have a lot of talented older poll workers that just cannot endure a long day like that, but I hate to lose their expertise too.
But we will need to make sure that the poll manager stays the whole day.
Correct.
There has to be that continuity through what's happening through the day.
Right. But I just think it's something we might want to consider, and maybe policy that we present to the supervisors and then have it on the books come the beginning of January 22. Okay. We've kind of combined those two topics together because we've sort of done an overview of elections. Does anybody else have anything from yesterday that they are aware of?
The only thing I can think of is that it was a lot of problems because the people showed up at the wrong precincts. I just don't think it was communicated well enough to know where these people voted.
Right.
So I think that kind of made people a little upset, but I mean, I don't know how to correct that. That's for the cities to do.
Yeah, that's gonna be in messaging. Precincts are different from the county precincts.
And just telling the people, look at their voter ID card. Most people did not save their voter ID card, and they wouldn't know
right.
where to find that if they did. So that's not communication enough.
You're correct.
I had a good experience yesterday in Ridgeland. There's one thing, though, that I've heard people say this, and it kind of happened to me a little bit yesterday. It wasn't the end of the world, but I'll just note it, is that the poll workers are so helpful making sure your ballot's scanned, and well, you didn't vote for that one, didn't you mean to not, and I didn't, I kind of feel like the secret ballot thing's a little challenging with somebody right there on you.
Yes.
And we've seen that and heard that, and that kind of happened yesterday. All good intentions, but it was a little awkward, so I'll just note that. Everything else was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the ideal when you're dealing with municipalities and you're dealing with the county, you're dealing with two different entities. Everybody get used to the county, not the municipalities. So therefore, what happens there, they don't communicate, and it's not our job really to communicate where and when and where to go. And that's the whole issue. They have in their mind that their precinct that they vote for the major stuff,
Right.
not the city stuff.
That's what they pay attention to because they think that's more important, when really it's all very important.
Right.
And the fact is, it is going to come back to us, and we can say, well, it's a municipal responsibility. But again, that's, people don't think that way.
No.
So we need to be maybe more aggressive working with the municipalities, just pointing out that we're getting this feedback, and if there's some way we can help communicate it as well, perhaps we can make it a little better. But it was a good election. It was a good election.
I don't see why it would hurt for them to use the precincts we use, because ward lines are drawn in a fashion to where you might have two precincts in it, but you would pick one. Well, then that would give you the opportunity to send a mail out to this other group and notify them. Ridgeland did a real good with notifying about voting. They had that robocall they do for making announcements if roads are closed or something's going to be unusual with your water department. It's hooked to your phone number there. And I get those calls all the time, which I think is a great way to pass information. So I think maybe we for the next municipal and just suggest to them that their locations could be one of these set precincts that we already have. I don't know, that might be a solution.
That's
We need
an
to,
excellent idea. And Madison, I know, has a text messaging system.
so that would be the same thing to notify your voters.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's all good ideas. Okay, moving down to new business, we have a request for a permanent absentee from Miss Kathleen Hutchinson, and she resides in precinct 111, or votes in 111.
I make the motion.
Okay, is there a second? All right.
Leroy.
Leroy, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and then we had received, and you have a copy of it in your packet there, of the purging for Brandy Lee Lett. She had registered to vote, and if you look at your form, your copy there, she has a felony conviction, and so I purged her from the voter. It was in pending status, and so I listed in the comments what was the reasoning there. Do we need to write her a letter or anything, Spence?
I don't think so.
Okay. I've had that question before. They've said, how do you notify people? And I've just wondered if we did.
I guess in theory, the theory is that they're notified under the state law that if, you commit a really bad felony that's disenfranchising, you can't vote. Now, she probably didn't know that.
I feel like she was encouraged to register somewhere where she was getting
Yeah.
social services, and so,
Yeah. But, we typically don't,
I didn't think I remembered us actually sending any. I just was trying to be sure. Okay.
good question, but yeah.
All right. Well, we're down to you.
Did we have a vote on that? Didn't we?
No, we did not have a vote on that.
Yeah, we needed to have a vote on
I
that.
make the motion that we purge her.
Second.
Actually, we're acknowledging it. I had already done it.
Unnecessary. Okay.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
Okay, Spence,
Yes, okay. Well, you guys are
we're whizzing through this morning.
efficient today. I'll pass my bill out, and
Okay,
it was more of a normal month without the, we kind of had the city elections and Canton behind us, so.
Right.
It was
Right.
so much on the bill, which is good. We, wrapped up the,
Thank you.
the issue with St. Joseph's Catholic Church, making sure that, they were taken care of, and at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the last one, they paid them that amount, and so that check ought to be in the mail to them.
Helen, you said that you saw on the system that they'd been paid, right?
I gave you a copy of it.
Okay, yeah.
So that's wrapped up and good, and again, the municipal elections are behind us, which is good, and I think we're set for a good summer.
I move to pay Mrs. Spence.
all right. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Laura, did you second?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Excuse me, overlooked this that was also in your folder, and I'm going to go ahead and do comments from the commissioners and kind of address that a little bit first, and then I'll come back to District 1 if that's all right. I was given a letter by the supervisors that had been sent to them, and it's in your folder there, Spence, if you'd help us look with it.
Sure.
It's self-explanatory, and I checked with the Secretary of State's office this morning, and actually, city provides the lines to the circuit clerk for the city boundaries, and it's sort of on the order of redistricting. It's not actually that, but it's a matter of going through and looking at your voter base and then looking at the lines to decide who is in Ward 1, Ward 2, et cetera. And there are reports in SIMS, like an address range report and a voter list that they work together with. There has been so much transition in the city of Canton with their city clerk that it is perhaps possible that this has been not as actively worked as it needed to be. Ms. Sims alleges that they're not up to date, but that's not something we as a group can really control. And I had put a call into the Assistant Secretary of State, and haven't heard back from him yet, but sometimes when they annex property, they don't actually go through the circuit clerk and let her know of these things. So it's possible, but I have no knowledge of any of it being incorrect. So I was just going to let everybody acknowledge this letter from Ms. Sims. And are there any comments?
Yes. This particular, Ms. Sims said, looking forward to hearing from you. I think it's something that Mr. Spence should respond to, because we have responded to the Voters League, we responded to the NAACP and all of those kind of people. He just should respond in a way of sharing with it that we don't draw the lines for wards, first of all, and the poll workers have, say, they have the ability to know if some of those people are deceased or whatever. They don't ever feed us with that, so there's no way you can remove them if you have no knowledge of it.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, I just want to point out on the deceased issue, something, and we packed the bags, so we know it was there. We do send a form every time we pack bags, asking, when people come in and say that somebody is deceased, to capture that information so that we can research it. If there were such reports, please send them over to our office, and we'll do our job. And if they don't belong on the rolls, we'll get it corrected.
So could we direct you to just respond to her that it's a city matter, more or less, that she should work through with the city clerk, circuit clerk, not us directly?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Spence, you can share like you shared with the Voters League that we actually are doing our jobs is cleaning up the voters' roll based on the information we receive.
Yeah, and y'all have been recognized for doing a good job. I think Dan pointed out the last meeting we're below the 100% of people in the, that, so you're making real progress, and you have to follow the law. You can't just purge people.
And that's important too.
I mean, so.
And you can put that in the notes.
And it's good. I'll put it in there, and people they need to tell us if somebody's deceased and we don't know, and all that, and we'll continue to do that. I think so we'll continue to do the good work y'all are doing.
I think the more information and education that they have, they'll understand the system better. And so I appreciate you taking care of that.
Sure.
Dan. We have received a notice that the budget is due at the end of this month, and I'm going to begin working on it. If you have items that you think that we need to factor in, please let me know by the end of the week so that I can begin to incorporate those numbers. Traditionally, we don't get everything we ask for, of course, and so I need to be able to compile this into a format that's in the computer, and then I transmit it straight over here to the admin office. With Anita, I had to leave before we actually got our turn. The Board of Supervisors meeting on Monday was quite lengthy, and but I had provided them with a copy of the picture of our new equipment that we were going to be able to purchase for the 173 tablets that were with the grant money, and they were very receptive to it and acknowledged it and thought it was great. And we did let them know that we would be probably budgeting for an additional group in this next year's budget. What we had before were 220. Is it our feeling that we want to get back to that level with what we order different? That's what I think. I mean, I want everybody's input.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's what I'll put in for the new equipment on that line item then. Okay. I believe that's all I've got. I'll defer to District 1 then.
No comments.
Oh, okay, District 2.
I have a few comments. Give me just a second. I found this morning where the Secretary of State's office has started posting the voter count for each county. As Spence mentioned earlier, I believe back in March when the majority of us went to convention, we were over the 100% mark. Now, these numbers are only good through the end of May, but it is a great way for our voters to hold us accountable. The 2019 census estimate for Madison County was 76,205 citizens of voting age. Currently, as of the end of May, we have 74,481 registered active voters. That is a percentage of 97.738. So we are making progress in cleaning up the rolls. We're coming down by roughly 3% at this point in time in the last 2 months. So I would like to commend all of my fellow commissioners on that. Everybody's been working very hard to get there. And then secondly, I have something that I would like to ask of us as commissioners. Our jobs can be fairly routine with the processing of paperwork to record voter changes. But every now and then we have a voter change that will reach out and just grab you by the heartstrings. And it's usually when one of your constituents passes away. This past Sunday when I was in the office, I had to process one of those. And it deeply touched my heart. Mississippi State Trooper John Martin Harris was lost in the line of duty on May 28, 2021. I would like to thank Trooper Harris for his selfless service and sacrifice to our state and our community. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends. But I would like for us as a body to observe a moment of silence in honor of his life and sacrifice, if y'all would mind doing that for us. Thank you. And thank you, Trooper Harris. And Ms. Harris, our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family.
Thank you. District 4.
The topic of information came up a few minutes ago. I think that's very important. I think we would all agree that voters are doing a better job perhaps in the past of letting us know what's going on. But I just want to encourage everybody to spread the word. If you're moving someplace, let us know. If somebody in your family has passed away, let us know. If we've sent you a confirmation card and you're still living there, let us know. We do not want to drop you from the rolls. But getting the right information from people is what makes this job successful and makes the kind of progress that we've all been making on cleaning up these rolls go forward, and that's what we want.
Okay, thank you. District 5.
On a comment, June 28th, we try to do this thing again as far as our election training down in Biloxi. Only you, I'm talking to Ms. Pat, I guess.
That's right, I've signed up.
Have a good time.
I have one more comment. Pat, your birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday.
You had one earlier, so
Last
we're
week.
both June bugs.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to go back also and ask, next meeting will be on the 14th of July, and I'm wondering, could we also schedule a work meeting afterwards in the office to identify and sort and try to do some general cleanup? We've had so much come back into the office as the election supplies, and I was wondering, would that date be available to people on July 14th if we did that as a work day?
Works for me.
It works for me.
You think it would be possible, Leroy, for a little while?
We'll figure it out. We got, our meeting's not till that Saturday for ECAM.
Sir, I'm sorry.
I said our meeting is not to that July the 17th with
Okay,
ECAM.
okay.
If I can, I'll be.
Our meeting is the 17th, is that what he said?
14th.
14th. He's
Okay.
leaving on the 17th for E ECAM.
Okay.
He has an ECAM meeting.
Oh, I see, okay.
Okay. All right.
So that's a good day?
All right. Well, we'll plan to adjourn from our meeting here and then try to do a little organization in our office because we've got a lot of things that we need help with the county to help get transported back over here to Anita's basement storage. And then it will help us be more efficient. If there is nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn until July the 14th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Was that Dan and Leroy?
Uh-huh.
Dan and me.
Dan and,
Oh, that's right, Dan and Lauren.
Oh, I found another one in my folder. I would say that Lauren, if you wanted to.
hold on, we're still online.
I'll mention it next time when you've actually got it.
Thanks, man.
Can I pray? Can I have?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. You feeling good? Getting around good?
Doing a little much
Yeah, you look